Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I'm your host Eric Smith, and today I'm talking about Blood and Rain by Glenn Rolfe. This is from Sam Hain Publishing, and it comes out October 6th, so I'm a little bit ahead of the curve. I actually read this quite a few weeks ago, but I wanted to wait to do the review until we were a little closer to the release date. I don't know how far ahead people like to pre-order stuff, so I figured do it, keep it a little fresh in your mind. It comes out in just a few weeks, so you can pre-order it or order it. But anyway, Blood and Rain by Glenn Rolfe. Great cover. And if you couldn't tell from that, it's a werewolf story. We start off, there's a little prologue in 1997 that gives us a little bit. We get the idea that it's werewolves or a werewolf, but it's just real short, couple pages. Then we jump ahead to the town of Gilson Creek, Maine, which is just a little rural town, nice and quiet, a little Mayberry kind of place, maybe a little bigger than that. And it's the night of the full moon, and there's a big storm, and some people get attacked and killed. And then we're introduced to more of our characters, and our main character, Sheriff Joe Fisher, who was around back in 97 when there were werewolf attacks. And so even though the official call back in the day was mountain lion, and that's basically what they're going with now, Joe knows that there's more going on than just a random animal attack. And so he's got to prepare. He's got to figure out how to protect his town from what he knows is a supernatural creature. And that's your basic, very, very basic synopsis, as always. So, Blood and Rain, a good old-fashioned werewolf story. The werewolf only changes during the full moon, so it's once a month. So when at the beginning of the book we have that first full moon, and some werewolf attacks, and then the bulk of the book, for the most part, is the time in between, that month in between full moons, where Joe Fisher and everybody else is sort of preparing for what's to come. Well, a few other people are preparing, because most people don't know what's out there. But Joe Fisher, the sheriff, is a really good character. He drinks maybe a little too much, but wouldn't you if you had to kill a werewolf? And he believes he did kill the werewolf back in the day. So he's wondering if maybe he didn't finish the job, or is this another werewolf? But he does figure it's a werewolf. He knows what's going on. But you've got his daughter, Sonia, and Joe's a widower. So it's just he and his daughter, a high school kid. And she's not a bad character. I like the relationship between the two. They do care about each other. But she is a teenager, so she does disobey him on occasion. Nothing super crazy rebel behavior, but you know, when he warns her to stay in, she still goes out with her friends and such. So a pretty well drawn, realistic kind of character, teenage girl character. Not as annoying as some that I've read recently, but not too bad. You've got Nick Bruce, who's a reporter for the Crypto Insider, and back during the original werewolf attacks back in the day, he caused a huge sensation, took some crime scene photos, and dubbed them the result of the full moon monster, and sort of created some hysteria. So Joe Fisher isn't really happy with him. But he's an interesting character, and a couple of his, well, basically his boss and a co-worker from the Crypto Insider come to town when they hear about these attacks, because they want to know what's going on. And you've got Ted McKinney, who's he's in a band. He's a disc jockey, and he his brother, I don't know, somebody close to him. See, it's been a while since I read it, so details are getting fuzzy. This is why I should do these reviews immediately. And then just sit on them. I don't have to post it as soon as I do it. But anyway, Ted McKinney, I think his brother, but definitely some people close to him, were killed in the old werewolf attacks. He believes it's werewolf. Even Joe Fisher tries to tell him, no, it's just mountain lions. Just mind your own business. But Ted knows what's going on. And so with this new set of attacks, he's going to spend the next month preparing, figuring out what he needs to do, because he doesn't want it to happen again. Interesting character. Lots of really good characters. A lot of the deputies are pretty interesting. You know, the periphery characters each seem to get a little get some screen time, as it were. We get a lot of time with Sonia and her boyfriend, and her friend Kim and Kim's boyfriend, you know, doing their teenage thing, but still worrying about what's going on. I got a little Jaws vibe, because, again, the sheriff knows what's coming, and he knows that the next full moon, some shit's going to go down. And they do impose a curfew, but he kind of feels like maybe they should have closed the beach as well. And of course, anytime I hear about, you know, you got to close the beach, I'm going to think of Jaws. Because it does take place during the summer. So the kids are out of school. It's nice weather. People are staying out, and they're staying out late. And there's a big party down at the beach because school's going to be starting soon. So it's that kind of a last hurrah. And hey, what better time for a party at the beach than when you've got a full moon? So it's going to be really nice out. Except there's a storm, because it is blood and rain. So there's another storm. But not all day. They do go to the beach. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'm a big fan of werewolves. You know, that whole kind of Jekyll and Hyde thing. Typically, it's your, you know, just your average Joe who just ends up with this curse. It's not necessarily a bad person. Although I did read a story, I think, where a wolf hunt, which I reviewed, by Jeff Strand, where the werewolf happened to already be a serial killer. So he sort of reveled in being a werewolf. But typically it's just your average Joe, someone who doesn't want to be a monster. But I think being cursed as a werewolf may change a person. But again, the werewolf is not completely typical. He is pretty much a monster, but there is a bit of consciousness there. So if I don't think I'm giving anything away here, if the person who's the werewolf has a grudge against somebody, then once they turn, they're going to go after that person. So I do like that, but it is, you know, a big giant wolf. He can stand on 2 feet, but he doesn't talk. So again, to me it's good old-fashioned werewolf horror, and it's very violent, it's very bloody. There's a little bit of sex in here. And you've got, even amongst just the normal people of the town, you've got your good characters and your good people and your bad people. They're all pretty good characters, as in well-written characters. but you've got your average Joes, and then your somewhat heroic figures, and then your assholes. So a nice group of characters in the story. And I said that the bulk is the time between the full moons, but it doesn't get slow, even though we don't have just a rash of werewolf attacks through the entire book. There's a lot going on as Joe prepares for the full moon coming up, as other characters prepare. All the deputies don't know. There's one that was there back in the day and knows that it was a werewolf back then and believes it's a werewolf now. But the rest of the deputies aren't in on it. Most of the characters don't know. As much as Nick Bruce, the reporter, likes to push the idea of the full moon monster, he doesn't necessarily believe it. He's trying to sell papers and build a career. And as much as his boss and coworker from the Crypto Insider push the idea of something supernatural, they don't necessarily believe it. Again, just trying to say, although I think they might be a little more inclined, because I don't know that you go into publishing something called the Crypto Insider without wanting to believe or already believing that these things are out there. But that time in between the full moons, it doesn't get slow, it doesn't get boring. We get a lot of character development. We get a lot of things that are pushing the story forward. And it does build that tension, because we know the full moon's coming and there's going to be more werewolf stuff going on. Just like the sheriff and Ted know that there's going to be more werewolf stuff going on. So it builds up to that. And then, of course, when you get to that last part where the full moon hits again, everything just goes crazy. And it's just a non-stop werewolf mania. So this is the first thing I've read by Glenn Rolfe, and I really enjoyed it. As I said, I like werewolves. I like them more than vampires. I'm not a vampire fan. So, all that being said, I give Blood and Rain by Glenn Rolfe, I give it 4 out of 5 werewolf slashes. You can never see that 5th one. It's actually drawn. I just don't color it in and outline it and everything. But 4 out of 5 werewolf slashes for Blood and Rain. Like I said, comes out October 6th, so it's perfect for some October Halloween season reading. I really do. I love that cover. Werewolves are so cool. It's good, horrific fun. If you're a fan of things like American Werewolf in London, or Dog Soldiers, or Ginger Snaps. I love Ginger Snaps. If you're a fan of werewolves, pick it up. If you just want to read some good horror, pick it up. As always, I'll have links for the book in the description below, so you can pre-order it. Or, you can hold off and order it once it comes out, but whatever, just pick it up and read it. So links in the description below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning first. And please like, share, and subscribe. I think that covers everything. Looking at my notes over here, I didn't take too many. I could have gone into a bunch of other characters, like Mel, the woman who owns the diner. It's a pretty nice character. And, I could have gotten into more of the deputies and, how everybody interacts. And there's some ancillary characters like Joe's neighbors and the guy that owns the convenience store. And, a lot of good characters in here. But, you know, you got to read it and find out about these characters for yourself. Just have a bloody good time reading Blood and Rain. So this is the Low Budget Review Show. I'm Eric Smith, and until next time, read more books.